Ranger. Hi-Yo Silver! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver. The Lone Ranger.
For the Lone Ranger and his faithful Indian companion, the past hour had been a rare interval of peace and serenity, an interval that came to a close suddenly and without warning.
How many shots did you count?
3.
There's just one man out there. Don't shoot unless you have to. Whoever he is, he seems to have gone crazy.
Come out and take your medicine, you murdering rats!
Have us mixed up with somebody else.
He's too angry to be reasoned with now.
What do we do, Kimasami?
Come out, I say, with your hands up!
You seem to have mistaken us for someone else.
You're the ones who made the mistake. You should have made sure I was dead before riding off.
You think we tried to kill you?
Here's what happened. That bullet you aimed my way 2 days ago. All it did was knock the breath out of me and scare off my horse. Been wandering around on foot ever since. Just lucky I stumbled onto your camp.
You see us shoot at you?
You know darn well you fired at me from ambush. I didn't see anything, but that mask supplies all the answers I need.
This mask works for the law.
Sure it does.
I believe I can convince you that we're not the men you're after.
How? Get those hands back up. Get them up or I'll shoot.
You keep in mind that a 6-gun only fires 6 shots.
I'm too tired to think straight. What are you going to do with me?
Give you food and water and a chance to rest.
You're not going to kill me? Then it really wasn't one of you two who ambushed me the other day.
No.
But if you didn't shoot at me, who did?
We'll talk in the morning. Right now, you need sleep.
Who did?
The answer to that question lay in the little town of Franklin, and it was contained in the person of Newton Larch, the proprietor of the Franklin Hotel.
You have a room available?
I think we can accommodate you, Mr. Spinner.
I didn't mention my name.
No, you didn't, did you? How were things in Minton City when you left?
You know my name and where I'm from. What else?
I also know that you're the cleverest swindler and confidence man in the country. Your room is the second at the head of the stairs.
Have you and I ever met before?
But I had a description of you from mutual friends. That's how I come to send for you.
Then you're the one who wrote me that unsigned letter.
You annoyed, Mr. Spinner?
Yes. I came all the way out here expecting to be cut in on $1 million deal. And what do I find? A flea bag of a town that doesn't see anything but rattle money from one end of the year to the next.
Along with my letter, I sent you $1,000 in advance. I'd hardly call that rattle money.
And I suppose it's worth a listen.
As a practical man, I believe in brevity, so I'll make this as short as possible. 2 days ago, Spinner, I killed a man.
Killed a man?
Shot him from ambush on the range.
Who was it?
A government geologist named Kenny Austin. Nice enough young fella. He had the room right next door here.
A geologist, you say? Was he making some sort of a survey? What did he find?
I'll tell you what he found, Spinner. He found that some of the land around this flea bag of a town was just loaded with oil.
Oil? Already they're calling it black gold.
I thought maybe you'd be interested.
Who else knows about these oil deposits?
Not a soul. The government geologist, Kenny Austin, had a notion that if the wrong people heard about it, they might try to swindle the land from the present owners. So he kept it a big secret, planning a public announcement after he made his official report.
But now, due to his unfortunate demise, neither the announcement or the report will ever be made. There's only one thing puzzles me, though. If he was as close-mouthed as you say, how did you learn all this?
The details can wait until you and I come to an understanding.
What did you have in mind?
I'll put up the money, you put up the front. Smooth talker like you should be able to buy these oil lands for a song.
We'll split the profits 50-50?
75 for me and 25 for you.
60-40.
75 and 25. Take it or leave it.
And if I leave it? After all, what's to prevent me from using this information for my own benefit?
This. Crossed me, Spinner, and I'd kill you with no more thought than I'd give to swatting a fly.
I believe you would.
Of course I would. It's the practical thing to do.
For a minute, I couldn't remember where I was. Where's your Indian friend?
Tonto, he went into Franklin to get supplies. He should be returning soon. Coffee?
Thanks. I don't know how to thank you fellas for being so nice about everything, especially after the fool way I tried to shoot you full of holes.
We don't want your thanks, Kenny, but you could help us out with a little information.
What do you want to know?
You said you have no idea who fired at you from ambush. Have you any notion as to why the attempt on your life was made?
You mean some personal reason someone wanted me out of the way? No, not as far as I know.
How about a business reason? Something in connection with your work, perhaps?
Well, yes. There has been an important development in my work recently. But I don't see any connection with the attempt on my life, because nobody in the whole world knows about it.
Are you referring to your discovery of oil deposits?
How'd you know about the oil? You hypnotized me. That's it. You hypnotized me.
It's nothing so dramatic, Kenny. You kept Tonto and me awake last night talking in your sleep.
Talking in my sleep. Sure, I should have known. Ever since I've been a kid, I've been talking in my sleep. I do it almost constantly.
Kenny, has it ever occurred to you that someone else could have heard you talking in your sleep and learned about your oil survey?
Holy mackerel.
Where are you staying?
At the hotel in Franklin.
Are the walls thin?
Like paper. So that's why someone tried to kill me. To keep me from making a public announcement that would send the price of the oil land soaring.
That's possible. When you were talking in your sleep, you mentioned that there were oil deposits on the Flying L Ranch and the T-Bar T. Is there oil anywhere else in this vicinity?
Only on old Tad Wayburn's place.
Tad Wayburn?
A local character.
Well, here comes Tonto. He may have news of what's going on in town.
What you worry about already happened, Kimasabi. Man in town buying oil land cheap. Already him have deed to Flying L Ranch.
The Flying L people have no idea of the real value of the property they've sold. Thanks to me and my blabbermouth.
Don't blame yourself, Kenny. Who is this man who's doing the buying?
A land speculator named of Spinner. Him supposed to be very rich.
Do you know anyone by that name?
Never heard of him.
Him just arrived in town.
Then how could he have overheard me talking in my sleep?
I don't know.
Spinner staying at hotel. Me hear him very friendly with proprietor.
Sure. Larch, the hotel proprietor. He was probably the one who heard me babbling away at night. And now he and Spinner have joined forces to acquire the oil lands for themselves.
We can't let them get away with it, Kenny. The time isn't far off when oil will become the lifeblood of the Southwest. If these deposits fall into crooked hands, it may prove fatal to the development of this entire area.
It's too late to stop it now. Spinner and Larch have already bought the Flying L.
Spinner talking business with owner of T-Bar T when we leave town.
Sure. By now that deal has probably been closed too. Which means only old Tad Wayburn's farm is the only oil land they haven't acquired yet.
Can Wayburn be trusted?
He's an eccentric old cuss, but he's honest as the day is long.
Good. Tonto, I'm going to induce Spinner to sell me the land that he bought from the Flying L Ranch and the T-Bar T people. For that purpose, I'm going to need a considerable sum of money. I want you to take this message to Mr. Whitaker in Harperville. He's a rich man and a good friend. He'll cooperate to the fullest.
Harperville not very far. Maybe back in 2, maybe 3 hours.
I'll meet you here. You're going to ride double with me on Silver, Kenny.
Where are we going?
We're going to arrange a few surprises for Mr. Larch and Mr. Spinner.
The first of the Lone Ranger's surprises was awaiting Spinner, the confidence man, when he halted his hired buggy in front of old Tad Wayburn's ramshackle home.
Ah, Mr. Wayburn, I believe.
Yep.
My name is Spinner. I've already purchased the Flying L Ranch and the T-Bar T. Perhaps you've heard.
Yep.
I'm also interested in buying your farm. I assume, of course, you're prepared to accept a generous offer.
Nope.
Mr. Wayburn, your refusal comes as somewhat of a surprise. Do you mind telling me why you don't care to sell?
Nope.
All right, then tell me.
Perhaps he prefers to sell to someone else.
You bought this property?
You're not the only one who's interested in the land around Franklin.
Really, Mr. Wayburn, it's a shock to find that a man of your standing in the community would do business with a crook.
What makes you so sure he's a crook?
Why else would he wear a mask?
Maybe he wants to keep his nose warm. Anyway, his money's just as good as anybody else's.
I'm prepared to double his offer, whatever it is. You haven't signed the deed yet. It's not too late to back out of the deal.
But I don't want to back out.
In Jupiter's name, why not?
'Cause I like him. And I don't like you.
I'd heard in town, Mr. Wayburn, that you're a somewhat unpredictable character. But frankly, I never suspected anything like this.
Well, I don't rightly know why I don't like you. But there's just something about you that makes me want to skin you alive.
Well, I guess I'm wasting my time here.
Not necessarily. Perhaps you and I can do business.
You wish to sell some land?
No, buy. I'll give you a fair price for the 2 ranches you've acquired.
Certainly not.
Well, if you change your mind, I am camped near the Sundown Cross Trails.
I'll not change my mind. I told you he was a crook. Obviously, he's learned somehow that the land hereabouts is rich in...
In what?
Nothing at all. Goodbye, Mr. Wayburn.
Goodbye. And if I do skin you alive, I think I'll start with the ears.
Tad, you were wonderful. You would have made a great actor.
I wasn't acting. I would like to skin him alive.
You hold on to this property, Tad, and someday you'll be a rich man.
Well, we saved Tad from being cheated, but how can we help the people who've already sold out?
That's next on the program, Kenny.
Spinner's probably headed back to town to report to the hotel proprietor.
Spinner's had his surprise. Now we'll prepare one for his partner in crime. Goodbye, Tad. Come on.
Bye, Tad.
Town is just up ahead. This is as far as I'd better go.
I'll walk the rest of the way.
Now, don't forget your story. You haven't slept in days. You're supposed to be dead tired.
Supposed to be. I don't think I'll ever catch up on my shut-eye.
Good luck.
Good luck.
And that's about the size of it. The masked man has somehow found out about the oil deposits, and he wants us to sell to him. Where do you suppose he got his information?
This is a hotel. Transients coming and going all the time. Could be he slept here a night and heard Kenny talking in his sleep.
What's wrong? Well, who is it?
It's Kenny Austin. My bullet must have missed him. Where have you been the past few days? I've missed you.
Someone shot at me. Scared off my horse. I've been wandering around ever since.
Shot at you say? Who?
Didn't see him. Ambushed. I'm tired. Very tired. I need help upstairs.
Of course. Wait here. You have a few hours sleep, you'll feel more like yourself again.
Oh, it'll take more than sleep to cheer me up.
Nonsense. You've had an unfortunate experience, but it's all over now. You've nothing further to worry about.
Before ambush, found out my calculations were all wrong.
Calculations wrong? What calculations?
Technical. Very technical. You wouldn't understand.
Even though I wouldn't understand, maybe it would ease your mind to talk about it.
Tired. Too tired.
Millions. Millions of dollars worth of oil. But it's not worth millions. Not worth anything at all. No oil deposits anywhere. Calculations wrong. All wrong.
He's asleep?
Good. Oh, yes, very good. You remember what I told you about his sleeping habits?
You said he babbles whatever's on his mind.
I've just been listening. It seems in the course of his survey he made a few mistakes.
What?
There are no oil deposits.
Well, seems to me you're taking this very calmly.
I'm a practical man, Spinner. What's the good of flying off in a rage? Let's concentrate on how to get rid of the land we bought.
Are you thinking about the masked man?
You know where to find him?
Well, he told me he'd camp near the Sundown Cross Trails.
Since he evidently still believes there's oil on the land, we should be able to sell out to him at a stiff profit. Here are the deeds to the 2 ranches we've already bought.
Well, I'd better hurry. If he finds out the land is worthless, he'll withdraw his offer.
Horse will be faster than the buggy. He'll find mine at the livery stable.
Seeing Spinner ride off in the direction of the Lone Ranger's camp, Kenny Austin knew that so far the plan was proceeding according to schedule. Having completed his own role in the affair, he felt that he could well afford to relax. Tonto, meanwhile, had returned from Harperville. With an adequate supply of money on hand, the Lone Ranger settled down to await the arrival of Larch or his emissary.
I have good news for you.
Good news is always welcome.
I've decided to let you buy the land after all, provided, of course, the price is right.
Do you have the deeds to the ranches?
Right here.
I'm willing to buy them for exactly what you paid for them.
Well, now, naturally, I expect to make a small profit. Say about twice what you offer.
Not a penny more than you paid.
Well, there's someone in town I'd like to consult before I make a decision.
I'm in a hurry to close this deal. I'll give you 5 minutes to make up your mind.
Back at the hotel in Franklin, Kenny Austin had dozed off in his hotel room.
Masked man. Plan working fine. Fool, Larch and Spinner. Masked man. What are you doing here?
I happened to be passing your room as you were talking in your sleep. I came in order to hear better, and I must say it's been most interesting.
I always seem to babble in my sleep. Most of it's just a lot of nonsense.
To the contrary, I find that you usually adhere to the facts, especially when you're really asleep.
I don't understand.
Oh, yes, you do. You see, you just revealed the masked man's entire scheme. I took the liberty of removing this as you slept, on your feet.
You're too late, Larch. By this time, the masked man has bought and paid for those oil lands.
Possibly. But you mentioned in your sleep that he intends to transfer the deeds to the names of the original owners.
You can't stop him from doing that.
Can't I? Turn around. All right, you and I are going for a ride in a buggy. And don't try to attract any attention. Come on, let's get going. This spot will do nicely. Anybody riding into town from the Sundown Cross Trail would have to pass right by here.
You figuring on dry gulching the masked man before he reaches the recorder's office?
That rock formation over there looks big enough to conceal the buggy.
You'll hang for this.
You'll hang. You see, I'm going to use your gun.
Well, people around here know I'm no killer.
3 days of wandering around under the hot sun proved too much for you. You cracked under the strain, went berserk. Too bad. You showed such promise.
You don't think I'm going to sit by while I watch you shoot a man down in cold blood, do you?
I hardly think you'll have any choice. Here he comes now.
Where? I don't see.
Meanwhile, Spinner had agreed to the Lone Ranger's terms. Leaving Tonto behind at the camp, The masked man and Spinner headed for the recorder's office in town. Larch was waiting.
Spinner hurt bad?
He's dead.
You know, fate deals some funny hands. Spinner stopped the bullet his partner meant for you.
Here, cut yourself free.
Where you going?
After the partner.
You might as well relax. I'll resist no further. I'm a practical man, you see, and a practical man knows when the game is up.
With Spinner dead and Larch in jail for the killing, the town of Franklin returned to its normal pattern of life. Well, not quite normal.
Tad, you look wonderful.
Well, everybody says I'm going to be rich, so I'm practicing to be a millionaire. Oh, I've been appointed as a committee of one to thank you for everything you've done.
Seeing justice triumph is thanks enough for me, Tad.
In all my born days, I never heard tell of anyone like you. You know what he did? He had all that oil land that he'd bought back from them crooks. But instead of holding on to it, he handed back the deeds to the original owners at the same price they'd sold them for. Come to think of it, I do remember one other fella that was like...
He's gone.
Sure. Same fella, all right. No question about it.
Who is he?
He's the Lone Ranger.
Silver!